It was a normal Tuesday morning when the world changed forever. John Smith, a regular office worker in New York, was sipping his coffee and checking his emails. He had no idea that in just a few minutes, his life and the lives of everyone on Earth would be turned upside down. The first sign of trouble came when all the screens in Times Square went black. People stopped and stared, wondering if it was some kind of technical glitch. Then, the screens flickered back to life, but instead of ads, they showed a strange symbol. It looked like a spiral galaxy with a red star at its center. Suddenly, the ground started to shake. At first, people thought it was an earthquake. But then they saw it. A massive spaceship, bigger than any building in the city, appearing in the sky above them. It wasn't just in New York. All around the world, in every major city, these giant ships appeared out of nowhere. Panic spread quickly. People ran for cover, not knowing what to do. The military tried to respond, but their jets and missiles seemed to have no effect on the alien ships. It was like they were protected by some kind of invisible shield. The aliens didn't waste any time. From their ships, they sent out smaller craft that looked like flying saucers. These saucers shot beams of light that didn't seem to hurt people, but instead froze them in place. Anyone hit by the light couldn't move a muscle. John managed to avoid the beams and ran into a nearby subway station. There, he found a group of scared people huddled together. An old man with a radio was trying to get any news about what was happening. The president is going to speak," the old man said, his voice shaking. Everyone gathered around to listen. The president's voice came through, crackling with static. "My fellow Americans and citizens of the world, we are facing an unprecedented crisis. Alien forces have invaded our planet. We do not know their intentions, but they have shown hostile actions. I urge everyone to remain calm and follow the instructions of your local authorities. We will fight back. We will not surrender. God bless us all." But even as the president spoke, the situation was getting worse. The aliens, creatures that looked almost human but with gray skin and large black eyes, were now on the streets. They moved with incredible speed and strength, easily overpowering any humans who tried to fight back. Within hours, major governments around the world had fallen. The aliens, who called themselves the Zoraks, took control of all major communications. They'd broadcast a message in every language. "People of Earth, we are the Zoraks. We come from a distant star system. Your planet is now under our control. Resist, and you will be punished. Cooperate, and you will live. We are your new masters." The invasion was swift and brutal. The Zoraks had technology far beyond anything on Earth. They could control the weather, create force fields, and even manipulate gravity. Against such power, Earth's military stood no chance. In just one day, the entire planet was under alien control. The Zoraks set up bases in every major city. They started rounding up humans, sorting them into groups. Some were sent to work in factories or mines. Others were taken away for what the aliens called special projects. John, still hiding in the subway with the group he met, couldn't believe how quickly everything had changed. Just this morning, he was worried about a work deadline. Now he was part of a conquered species, hiding from alien overlords. As night fell on that first terrible day, the survivors in the subway tried to come to terms with their new reality. They shared what little food they had and tried to comfort each other. But everyone knew that this was just the beginning. The Zoraks' invasion had begun, and humanity's darkest hour was upon them. Little did they know, this was only the start of a story that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. 5 years had passed since the Zoraks' invasion. Earth was a very different place now. The aliens ruled with an iron fist, using their advanced technology to keep humans under control. Most people had given up hope of ever being free again. But not everyone had surrendered. In the ruins of old New York, a small group of humans was fighting back. They called themselves the Resistance. Their hideout was in an abandoned subway tunnel, deep underground where the Zorax sensors couldn't detect them. Sarah Chen, once a brilliant computer programmer, was now the leader of this group. She sat in front of a makeshift computer, trying to crack the alien code. Next to her was Michael, a former soldier who now trained others to fight. "Any luck?" Michael asked, looking over Sarah's shoulder. Sarah shook her head. "Not yet. Their technology is so advanced, it's like trying to understand magic." Just then, a young man named Alex burst into the room. He was out of breath, and his eyes were wide with excitement. "You won't believe what I found," he said, holding up a small device. It looked like a mix between a cell phone and a remote control. Sarah took the device, her hands shaking slightly. "Where did you get this?" Alex grinned. "I snuck into one of their outposts. This fell off a Zorax guard. I think it's some kind of personal computer." This was a huge breakthrough. For years, the Resistance had been trying to get their hands on alien technology. Now, they finally had a chance to understand how it worked. Sarah immediately got to work. She connected the device to her computer and started running tests. Hours passed as she typed furiously, her eyes glued to the screen. Meanwhile, Michael gathered the rest of the group. There were about 30 of them in total, all living in the underground tunnels. They had weapons, mostly old guns and homemade explosives, but they were no match for the Zorax's advanced weapons. "We might finally have a chance," Michael told them. "If Sarah can crack their tech, we could use it against them." The next day, Sarah emerged from her work area, looking tired but excited. "I figured it out," she said. "This device, it's not just a computer. It's a key to their whole network. With this, we can access their communications, their security systems, everything." The news spread quickly through the Resistance. For the first time in years, there was hope. But their excitement was short-lived. Suddenly, alarms started blaring. The Zorax had detected their hideout. "They're coming," someone shouted. Panic spread through the group. They had trained for this, but facing the aliens was still terrifying. Michael took charge. "Everyone, grab your gear. We need to move now." As they rushed to gather their supplies, Sarah made a quick decision. She downloaded as much data as she could from the alien device onto her own computer. The sound of alien weapons could be heard getting closer. The Resistance members ran through the tunnels, their hearts pounding. They had escape routes planned, but they had never had to use them before. Just as they reached one of the exits, a group of Zorax soldiers appeared, blocking their path. Their gray skin seemed to glow in the dim light, and their black eyes showed no emotion. Michael didn't hesitate. He threw a homemade grenade, creating a cloud of smoke. In the confusion, the humans managed to slip past the aliens. They emerged onto the streets of what used to be Brooklyn. The once bustling neighborhood was now a ghost town, with alien structures looming over the abandoned human buildings. "We need to split up," Sarah said. "We'll meet at the backup location in 3 days." As the group separated, Sarah clutched her computer close. She knew that the information she had stolen could change everything. The Resistance had suffered a setback, losing their main base, but they had gained something much more valuable: knowledge. As she ran through the quiet streets, dodging alien patrols, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The fight wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. The Resistance had taken its first real step towards freeing Earth from the Zorax. The future, for the first time in years, looked just a little bit brighter. 3 weeks had passed since the Resistance's narrow escape from their old hideout. Sarah, Michael, and a handful of others had made it to their backup location, an old nuclear bunker hidden deep in the Appalachian Mountains. Sarah had been working nonstop, trying to decode the information she had stolen from the Zorax device. The bunker was filled with the constant sound of her typing and the low hum of old computers. On the 22nd day, everything changed. "I've got it." Sarah's excited shout echoed through the bunker. Everyone rushed to her workstation. Michael leaned over her shoulder. "What did you find?" Sarah's eyes were wide with disbelief. "You're not going to believe this. The Zorax. They're not here to conquer us. At least that wasn't their original mission." She pulled up a series of documents on her screen. They were in the alien language, but Sarah had managed to translate them. According to this, the Zorax are part of something called the Galactic Council. It's like a union of different alien species. They sent the Zorax here on a research mission. The others looked at each other in confusion. Alex, the young man who had stolen the device, spoke up. "Research? What kind of research involves enslaving an entire planet?" Sarah shook her head. "That's just it. They weren't supposed to enslave us. Their mission was to observe Earth and determine if humans were ready to join the Galactic Council." A heavy silence fell over the group as they tried to process this information. Michael was the first to speak. "So what went wrong? Why did they attack us?" Sarah scrolled through more documents. "It looks like the Zorax leaders got greedy. They saw Earth's resources and decided to take them for themselves. They'd been lying to the Galactic Council, telling them that Earth is uninhabited and rich in minerals. This revelation changed everything. The Resistance had been fighting against what they thought was a powerful alien empire. But now, they knew the truth. The Zorax were criminals, acting against the orders of their own government. "We need to tell someone," Alex said. "If the Galactic Council knew what was really happening here, maybe they'd help us." But how could they reach an intergalactic governing body? It seemed impossible. As if in answer to their thoughts, an alarm suddenly blared from Sarah's computer. She quickly typed in a few commands, her face pale. "We've got a problem," she said. "The Zorax just sent out a distress signal. They're calling for reinforcements from their home planet." The implications were clear. If more Zorax arrived, Earth would be stripped of its resources, and the truth would be buried forever. Michael paced the room, his mind racing. "We need a plan. We need to find a way to contact this Galactic Council before the reinforcements arrive." Sarah nodded, already turning back to her computer. "I think I can help with that. The Zorax have a long-range communication device. If we can get to it, we might be able to send a message to the Council." It was a dangerous plan. The communication device would be heavily guarded, probably in the main Zorax base. But they had no choice. It was their only hope. Over the next few days, the Resistance prepared for their most daring mission yet. They studied the layouts of Zorax bases, practiced fighting techniques, and prepared as much as they could. Sarah worked tirelessly to create a message that would convince the Galactic Council of the truth. She included all the evidence she had gathered from the stolen device. On the eve of their mission, the group gathered for a final meeting. The mood was tense. Everyone knew the risks. Michael stood before them, his face serious. "Tomorrow, we fight not just for our freedom, but for the truth. If we succeed, we might just save our planet. If we fail..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. They all knew what failure meant. As they prepared for bed, Sarah looked at the night sky through a small window. Somewhere out there was a Galactic Council that didn't know the truth about Earth. Tomorrow, they would try to change that. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. The discovery they had made could change everything, if only they could share it with the right people. With determination in their hearts, the Resistance prepared for the most important day in Earth's history. The Resistance team gathered around a makeshift table in their underground bunker. The air was thick with tension as Sarah spread out a set of hand-drawn maps and diagrams. "This is our target," she said, pointing to a large circle on the map. "The Zorax main communication hub. It's located in what used to be the Pentagon." Michael leaned in, his brow furrowed. "That's going to be heavily guarded. How do we get in?" Sarah smiled, a glint of excitement in her eyes. "That's where our secret weapon comes in." She held up a small device, no bigger than a coin. "I've been working on this for weeks. It's a cloaking device, reverse-engineered from Zorax technology." A murmur of amazement went through the group. Alex reached out to touch the device, but Sarah pulled it back. "Careful," she warned. "It's our only prototype. Over the next few hours, they hashed out the details of their plan. It was risky, but it was their only chance to contact the Galactic Council before Zorak's reinforcements arrived. The plan was this. A small team would infiltrate the communication hub using the cloaking device. Once inside, they would hijack the Zorak's long-range communicator and send a message to the Galactic Council, exposing the Zorak's true actions on Earth. "Who's going on this mission?" Alex asked, his voice a mix of fear and excitement. Michael stood up. "I'll lead the team. We need our best fighters for this." Sarah shook her head. "No, I have to go. I'm the only one who can operate the alien tech and send the message." After some debate, they settled on a team of 4. Sarah, Michael, Alex, and a former Navy SEAL named Lisa. As the others prepared, Sarah sat alone, working on the message they would send. It had to be perfect. It had to convince an alien council to help a planet they'd never even heard of. The night before the mission, no one could sleep. The weight of what they were about to do pressed down on all of them. If they failed, Earth might be lost forever. In the early hours of the morning, the team gathered one last time. They checked their gear, went over the plan again, and said their goodbyes to the rest of the resistance. As they prepared to leave, an old man named Joe, who had been with the resistance since the beginning, approached them. In his hands, he held 4 small objects. "These were my grandfather's," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "He fought in World War I. Said these lucky charms kept him alive." He pressed one into each of their hands. "Maybe they'll keep you safe too." Sarah looked down at the small, worn rabbit's foot in her palm. It was such a human thing, to believe in luck. She closed her fist around it, drawing strength from this connection to Earth's past. The journey to Washington, D.C. was tense and dangerous. They traveled by night, hiding from Zorak's patrols during the day. As they got closer to the city, the alien presence grew stronger. Massive ships hovered over the ruins of once great buildings. Zorak's soldiers patrolled the streets in hovering vehicles. Finally, they'd reached the outskirts of what used to be the capital of the United States. The Pentagon loomed in the distance, now transformed into a gleaming alien fortress. Sarah activated the cloaking device. A shimmer passed over the team, and suddenly they were invisible. "Remember," Michael whispered, "we've only got an hour before the device runs out of power. We need to be in and out fast." They moved silently towards the building, their hearts pounding. As they approached, they saw Zorak's guards at every entrance. But thanks to the cloaking device, they walked right past them. Inside, the building was a maze of alien technology. Strange lights pulsed along the walls, and the air hummed with energy. Sarah led them through the corridors, following the map she had memorized from the stolen data. Finally, they reached the central communication room. It was enormous, filled with screens and consoles unlike anything they had ever seen. "This is it," Sarah said, her voice barely a whisper. "Our one chance to save Earth." As she moved towards the main console, the team took up defensive positions. Sarah's hands flew over the alien controls, her mind racing as she prepared to send the message that could change the fate of their world. The future of humanity hung in the balance. The plan was in motion. Now, all they could do was hope it would work. Sarah's fingers danced over the alien console, her eyes darting between the strange symbols. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she worked to send their message to the Galactic Council. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Red lights flashed throughout the room. "They've detected us," Michael shouted, raising his weapon. Sarah's heart raced. "I need more time." The door burst open. Zorak's soldiers poured in, their weapons charged. Michael, Lisa, and Alex formed a protective circle around Sarah, firing at the aliens. "Done," Sarah yelled. She pressed a final button, and a beam of energy shot from the top of the building into space. Their message was on its way. But they were trapped. Zorak's reinforcements were closing in. "We need to get out of here," Lisa said, her voice steady despite the chaos. Alex pointed to a window. "Look." Outside, a small Zorak ship was docked. It was their only chance. "Can anyone fly that thing?" Michael asked. Sarah nodded. "I think I can figure it out." They fought their way to the ship, the cloaking device long since failed. Sarah's hand shook as she activated the ship's controls. With a lurch, they lifted off, leaving the angry Zoraks behind. But their troubles were far from over. As they soared into the sky, larger Zorak ships gave chase. "Hold on," Sarah yelled, pushing the ship to its limits. They zoomed through the clouds, dodging energy blasts from their pursuers. Alex looked pale. "Where are we going?" Sarah's eyes were fixed on the ship's navigation system. "Up. We're going to space." The small ship shuddered as it left Earth's atmosphere. The blackness of space surrounded them, dotted with stars. For a moment, they were awestruck by the sight of their blue planet below. But the Zoraks were still in pursuit. Larger ships appeared, trying to box them in. "We can't outrun them forever," Michael said grimly. Sarah nodded. "We don't have to." Look! A swirling vortex had appeared in space ahead of them. It was a wormhole, a shortcut through space. "The Galactic Council must have received our message," Sarah said. "They're giving us a way out." Without hesitation, she steered the ship towards the wormhole. The Zorak ships fired desperately, trying to stop them. As they entered the wormhole, time seemed to stretch. Colors swirled around them in impossible patterns. Everyone held on tight, their stomachs churning. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. They emerged into a new area of space. A massive space station loomed before them, unlike anything they had ever seen. "The Galactic Council," Sarah breathed. Their ship's communications crackled to life. An alien voice, speaking perfect English, came through. "Humans of Earth, you are safe now. Please dock at Bay 7. The Council is eager to meet you." As Sarah guided their stolen ship towards the docking bay, the team exchanged nervous glances. They had made it this far, but what would happen now? The docking procedure was smooth, guided by the station's automated systems. As the airlock opened, they were met by a group of aliens. These weren't Zoraks, but a variety of species they had never seen before. One stepped forward. It was tall and slender, with iridescent skin and large, kind eyes. "Welcome," it said, its voice melodious. "I am Zarak, Chief Ambassador of the Galactic Council. We received your message and are deeply troubled by what we've learned." Sarah stepped forward, her voice shaky but determined. "Thank you for helping us, but our planet is still in danger. The Zoraks are calling for reinforcements." Zarak nodded gravely. "We understand. The Council is already taking action. But first, we need to hear your full story." As they followed Zarak deeper into the station, the humans couldn't help but marvel at their surroundings. Advanced technology beyond their wildest dreams was everywhere. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about, some giving them curious looks. They were led to a large chamber. In the center was a circular table, around which sat beings that could only be the Galactic Council members. Zarak turned to them. "Are you ready to tell your story to the Council? The fate of your planet may depend on it." Sarah looked at her teammates. They had come so far, risked so much. Now they had to convince these powerful beings to help Earth. With a deep breath, Sarah stepped forward. "We're ready," she said. The journey had been long and dangerous, but as they prepared to address the Council, they realized it was only the beginning. The real challenge, saving Earth, was just starting. The chamber of the Galactic Council was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors sat around a massive circular table. Some looked almost human, while others were completely alien. Sarah stepped forward, her heart pounding. She took a deep breath and began to speak. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council, we come to you from Earth, a planet under attack by the Zoraks." A murmur went through the chamber. Sarah continued, her voice growing stronger. For 5 years, the Zoraks have enslaved our people, stolen our resources, and lied to you about their actions. She presented the evidence they had gathered: files from the stolen Zoraks device, images of Earth's destruction, and personal accounts of the invasion. As Sarah spoke, the council members listened intently. Some looked shocked, others angry. When she finished, there was a moment of silence. Then, a tall, blue-skinned alien stood up. "This is a grave accusation," it said. "We must hear from the Zoraks representative." A Zorak stepped forward, its gray skin gleaming under the chamber's lights. "These humans lie," it hissed. "We have followed council protocols. Earth was unprepared for galactic citizenship. We are simply guiding them." Michael couldn't contain himself. "Guiding us?" he shouted. "You've killed millions." The chamber erupted in chaos. Different council members argued with each other, some defending the Zoraks, others calling for immediate action. Suddenly, a loud boom silenced everyone. At the head of the table sat a being that looked like a giant, glowing jellyfish. It spoke, its voice echoing in their minds rather than their ears. "We will investigate these claims immediately," it said. "If what the humans say is true, it is a violation of our most sacred laws." The Zoraks representative sputtered, "But Supreme Counselor, surely you don't believe these primitives over us?" The Supreme Counselor's tentacles pulsed with light. "We believe in truth, Zoraks, and we will find it." Over the next few hours, the Council reviewed all the evidence. They sent probes to Earth to confirm the human story. The Zoraks representative grew more nervous with each passing moment. Finally, the Supreme Counselor spoke again. "The evidence is clear. The Zoraks have violated galactic law. They have enslaved a developing species and lied to this council." The chamber was silent. The Zoraks representative had no more excuses. "What happens now?" Sarah asked. The Supreme Counselor's light pulsed gently. "Now, we right this wrong. The Zoraks invasion force will be ordered to leave Earth immediately. If they refuse, they will face the full might of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force." A wave of relief washed over the humans, but Alex spoke up. "What about Earth? Our cities are destroyed. Our people are suffering." The blue-skinned alien who had spoken earlier stood again. "We will help you rebuild. It is the least we can do to make amends for our failure to detect this crime." As the council discussed plans to aid Earth, Sarah and her team huddled together. They had done it. They had saved their planet. But Michael looked troubled. What if the Zoraks on Earth refuse to leave? They still have a powerful army there. Sarah nodded grimly. "Then we fight. But this time, we're not alone." The next few days were a blur of activity. The humans were given quarters on the space station as the Galactic Council prepared its response. Messages were sent to Earth, informing the Zoraks of the Council's decision. The response was not peaceful. The Zoraks commander on Earth refused to leave, declaring that they would fight to keep their new colony. The Supreme Counselor called another meeting. "We had hoped for a peaceful resolution," it said, "but we are prepared for resistance. We ask you, brave humans, will you join our peacekeeping force to liberate your planet?" Sarah looked at her team. They were tired, they had been through so much. But in their eyes, she saw determination. She turned back to the council. "Earth is our home. We'll fight to free it, no matter what." The Supreme Counselor's light glowed brightly. "Then let us prepare. The battle for Earth begins now." As the Galactic Peacekeeping Fleet prepared for departure, Sarah stood by a window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, still suffering under Zorak's rule. But not for long. They had started this journey as a small resistance group, hiding in tunnels. Now they were part of a galactic alliance, about to take back their planet. Sarah smiled. The real confrontation was just beginning. And this time, humanity would show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The Galactic Peacekeeping Fleet emerged from hyperspace near Earth. Thousands of ships, each more advanced than anything humans had ever built, filled the sky. Sarah, Michael, Alex, and Lisa stood on the bridge of the lead ship, their hearts racing with anticipation. Earth came into view, still beautiful despite the scars of Zorak's occupation. But surrounding the planet was the Zorak's fleet, ready for battle. A transmission came through. The Zorak's commander's face filled the screen, his black eyes cold with anger. "Leave now," he snarled, "or be destroyed. Earth is ours." The Supreme Counselor, its tentacles glowing softly, replied, "You have violated galactic law. Surrender and leave peacefully, or face the consequences." The Zorak's commander laughed and cut the transmission. "So be it," the Supreme Counselor said sadly. "Let the liberation of Earth begin." The space around Earth erupted into chaos. Energy beams crisscrossed the void. Explosions bloomed like silent flowers. The humans watched in awe as the galactic ships danced through space, their technology far beyond the Zorak's. But the Zorak's fought fiercely. They had much to lose and were determined to keep their stolen world. As the battle raged in space, Sarah turned to the Supreme Counselor. "We need to get down there," she said, pointing at Earth. "Our people are still fighting. They need to know help has arrived." The Supreme Counselor nodded. "Go, show your people that hope has returned." A small, fast ship was prepared for them. As they flew towards Earth, dodging debris and energy blasts, they saw the Zorak's fleet slowly being pushed back. They landed in what used to be Central Park in New York. The once green oasis was now a barren battlefield. Zorak's troops were everywhere, fighting desperately against the human resistance that had emerged from hiding. Sarah and her team jumped into action. With weapons provided by the Galactic Council, they fought their way through the Zorak's forces. "Look!" Alex shouted, pointing to the sky. Galactic peacekeepers were landing all over the city. Advanced weapons easily overwhelmed the Zorak's defenses. For the first time in 5 years, the aliens were on the run. As word spread that help had arrived, more humans joined the fight. People emerged from hiding, picking up whatever weapons they could find. The tide was turning. In the heart of the city, Sarah's team found themselves face to face with the Zorak's Earth commander. He was cornered, his troops defeated. "It's over," Michael said, his weapon trained on the alien. "Surrender." The Zorak's commander looked at them with hatred. "You think you've won? You're nothing but primitives. You don't deserve to be part of the galactic community." Sarah stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "We might be young, but we're strong. We survived your invasion. We fought back. We crossed the galaxy to bring justice. If that's not deserving, I don't know what is." With a snarl, the commander lunged at her, but he never reached her. A beam of energy hit him, and he fell. Alex stood there, his weapon smoking. "Earth is free," he said simply. Over the next few days, the remaining Zorak's forces were rounded up. The Galactic Council established bases around the world to help with the rebuilding efforts. A week after the battle, Sarah stood with her team on top of a half-destroyed skyscraper, looking out over the city. Signs of reconstruction were everywhere. Galactic ships moved through the sky, bringing supplies and hope. "We did it," Lisa said softly. "We actually did it." Michael nodded. "But the work's just beginning. We have a planet to rebuild." Sarah smiled. "And a galaxy to explore." The Supreme Counselor said Earth will be invited to join the Galactic Council once we're back on our feet. Alex laughed. "Imagine that. Us out there among the stars." As they stood there, a group of children ran past, laughing and playing. For the first time in years, they could do so without fear. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. "This is what we fought for," she said. "This moment, right here." The sun was setting, painting the sky in beautiful colors. As darkness fell, stars began to appear. But now, looking at those stars, the humans didn't feel small or alone. They had faced the greatest challenge in human history. They had fought back against impossible odds. They had crossed the galaxy and brought an alien invasion to its knees. Earth was free, and humanity had proven itself on a galactic stage. As Sarah looked up at the stars, she smiled. The future was bright, and the greatest adventure was just beginning. Their revenge was complete, but it wasn't about punishment. It was about justice, freedom, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity. The galaxy had underestimated Earth, but never again. Humanity was ready to take its place among the stars.